friends.
Hello, it's so good to see you. You are in the middle of my screen.
Oh, I'm very
Lovely.
happy to be in the middle of your screen.
Yes, it's beautiful. Thank you. It's lovely to see you. And we are gathering now. We are 50 of us for the time being.
Fantastic.
Yes, it's really so great to see you.
I wish I was in Budapest.
Yes, it was 3 years ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just got reminded by Facebook that the book was published 5 years ago, exactly 5 years ago, and you came 3 years ago, and it was really
Yeah. Amazing.
So many people, yes, many have met you, and many new people actually joined us since. So it's really
amazing. Yeah.
It's a privilege to see you now and meet you.
A miracle.
Thank you so much. Richard, would you love to make an attunement with us, or somehow? Yes, would it be?
Yeah,
it would be lovely to.
Yeah. I just did. Actually, was just live in a breathwork summit, and
Yes,
like earlier today, and there was a very beautiful little, very nice, simple breathing technique which we could do together.
Would be lovely.
Okay. I'll speak slowly, and you're translating in the chat.
Yes, we are.
Right.
Gabi, yes.
Gabi,
our friend. Yes.
Well done. I can't see Gabi. Oh yes, hi Gabi. So okay, let's put our hands on our bellies and close our eyes. Well, you can't close your eyes if you're following the chat, so. And just let your breath come down your body. Until you feel your breath sinking lower and lower towards your hands. It doesn't have to be a physical breath, it's more the energy of your breath. So you don't have to force anything. You invite your breath to drop deeper. And then we'll do three, it's called the 3 harmonies. And the first harmony is the breath through our lungs and our nose. So we focus on the breathing coming through our nose and coming into our lungs and down into our belly. And as we're tuning to this breath, listening to this breath, we invite this breath into our lungs and our respiratory system. We invite this breath to find a natural harmony. It's just an invitation. We give it the space and we say, would you like to find a natural harmony? And then the breath, all on its own, will begin to find that harmony. And for each of us, it's different. So again, it's just an invitation to the breath in through the nose, down into the body. Just let the breath find its own harmony. There's nothing to do. The breath is doing it. We're not doing it. can't do it wrong. It takes a little time sometimes. And then the second harmony, and when you're at home, you can do this for longer, but today we'll just do short. The second harmony is the pulse. So you may like to hold your pulse gently with your thumb or your finger. And you're just looking for the suggestion of your pulse. You don't need to push down hard. It might be very faint. That's okay. You don't have to feel it strongly. Just tuning to the rhythm of your pulse. Doesn't matter if it feels fast or slow. Doesn't matter. And then with the same with our pulse, we offer it an invitation. Would you like to find your own harmony? We invite our pulse to find its own harmony. We give it some space. And this is a feeling. You don't have to analyze it. It's more of an intuitive feeling, a listening. And just by inviting the pulse, it relaxes and finds a harmony. And then the next step, we introduce the pulse to the breath. And we say, would you like to find a harmony together? And here you have to not analyze, because the pulse is going at one rhythm and the breath is moving to another rhythm. But they can move at different rhythms and still be in harmony. So you invite them to find a natural harmony together. And you can't do this with your mind. Your body will do it on its own. So your breath and your pulse coming into harmony. Maybe you can feel something in your body. Things becoming more still. And maybe in your mind. And then the third harmony is the cells of the body. And there are trillions of cells in the body. And they also have a deep harmony, a rhythm. As the fluid of the cell is pumped into the cell and out of the cell, into the cell and out of the cell. This is the deepest rhythm of the body. It's very subtle. You can find it with your intuition. also this cellular rhythm is liquid, so it's very connected to the moon and the tides and the rhythms of life and the planets and nature. And then we invite all these three harmonies to come into harmony together. The cells, the pulse of the heart, and the physical breath. Three harmonies coming into resonance, coherence, and then you can also tune into all of us together, coming into coherence. So many rhythms, all coming into one harmony. And you can just hold your belly, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and keep the space of the harmony. And we can maintain this space even with our eyes open, so we're still in this meditative, high frequency space throughout this call. And it's a warm welcome from me to all of you. It's so a privilege to be here with you all.
Thank you, Richard. It's very, very beautiful. This is probably what we needed. And there is actually a question relating to this probably. Would it be okay? So we have collected these questions, and would it be okay to go through them? And then if we'll have still more time, then
Of course.
Let people
Yes,
ask. Yes, yes.
Yes, of course.
Richard, so thank you. So maybe we can start with the first one. How do you see the timeline of the great change? Do you expect big visible changes in the world by 2027? To just start with a small question.
I don't expect big visible changes by 2027, but who knows? It's a it's a starting gun, and timelines are very mysterious, and even very respected sages and masters give predictions and are wrong. And I think timelines change. Maybe you can predict them one time and then they shift and change. So all we know is change is coming, and we know it's coming soon. But what is soon? I think it's soon is in evolution terms. And if you take the perspective that we are reincarnating beings, and that we have already been here for thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, then the timeline isn't so important,
Mm.
because you're just following the arc of your evolution as a soul, and you can trust that in this life you have a job to do, and your job is preparing for this great change, and perhaps preparing others for this great change, but certainly preparing your own soul. And even though it may be tempting to think, I'm not going to come back, probably most of us will be coming back to the changed world. You know, some of us may be here, that maybe some of us are the big wave surfers.
Mm.
You know, and we like to come when the change is absolutely at its greatest chaos. Others will come just after the change. It depends on your soul's evolution and requirements, I suppose.
Mm.
So all of that is only important because it's what we are here to do now, to prepare. And it's possible that in 1 year everything has changed, or in 10 years, or 100 years. I think, you know, 100 years is a good distance. You know, even the climatologists, you know, are showing us that by the end of this century, where there are towns and cities, there will be water. And so even in 100 years from now, maybe even in 50 years, we're looking at a very different world. And so we're looking at a world going probably into a climate crisis.
Mm.
And then we're looking for a time of chaos, and then a time of returning harmony over a long period, rebuilding. So that's the nature of change.
Mm.
And the biggest changes come fast. And I think this one is coming fast. So that's all I could really say.
Mm. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The next one is more narrow. It sounds like as individuals, we are on the journey with the gene keys, and we do want to operate on the gift level as a team, group, or collective. It feels like our organism has its own frequency. How do we, as a collective being, go from shadow to gift? So individual and collective.
Yeah. Well, one technique is to do the technique we just did with the
Exactly.
breath. And it's beautiful to do. And you can add some words like at the beginning each time, like a prayer or something powerful. So coming into coherence as a group is similar to coming into coherence on your own. When you go, if you meditate, or if you contemplate, or if you do yoga, or if you do some practice, you go the same time every day, and then you do the same technique every day, and the same cushion, and the same, maybe for me, I wear a rug, a poncho, and the same custom. Mm-hmm. Means that your practice goes deeper and deeper in that rhythm, and deeper. And so if you can also do it as a community, or even in 2s and 3s, or in groups, if you can have the same practices. So you know, like for instance, the invocation of solace, that prayer with the mudras, is a very beautiful example. But you could choose any practice that you all love to do. And then every time you come together, you do that practice. And every time anyone is meeting, you're doing that practice. And it eventually that practice is going on all the time. And that's what creates the coherence. Obviously, in the sequences, activation and Venus and Pearl, there is a map of individual, relationship, collective. So the mystery of the answer to the question is contained in those sequences. The individual awakens and finds their core stability in purpose in the activation sequence, and then that purpose or that genius begins to blossom through the heart, and then the heart has to go through its healing journey. This is a big journey, a life journey, through all our relationships. But unless we have the core stability of that sense of purpose in the body, in the belly, it's difficult to have the healing journey through our relationships. You need that grounding, and then all those relationships become your allies, and they become like the rungs of a ladder that are taking you higher and higher in frequency, through healing, through forgiveness, through tolerance, through compassion, through the cities, through justice, through having to hold boundaries, integrity, through saying no with kindness sometimes, through saying yes, and taking a risk at other times. Yes, I'll let you in my heart. Yes, I may get hurt again. And that's the Venus sequence is the deep work. And then out of those healed relationships flowers our community, as it is obviously with you, with all of you, for large numbers of people to come together around the Gene Keys. It's a suggestion that you're doing your work, and then you have all in the Pearl, you also have all the cultural wounding patterns as well that get played out around the world, and so in the Venus sequence we see those cultural wounds, which I think you want to ask me about.
Yes.
Yeah, but every culture has its own story, history, kind of wounding that each member of the culture carries in a different way. So we all have shards or aspects of the culture's wound, and if you're a warrior, a rainbow warrior, a warrior of the light, doing this work, you will start to open a bright light in the cultural wound, and as you start to heal that inside you, it starts to spread faster throughout your gene pool in sometimes miraculous ways. Yeah, especially when you come together.
Yeah.
So if some of you come together, for instance, to teach the Venus work, it can be very powerful in who it brings in and the wounds that they carry, and how the compassion and the grace operates to bring people, to help them awaken more quickly. So yeah, that's a long answer, but it's a big question.
It is a big question, and thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so maybe I'll ask this Hungary specific question that somebody asked. Yes, what can we do with the system we live in Hungary, based on blatant lies, which is increasingly resembling a Putin dictatorship. So it's a quite subjective description, but in which is cynical of all human values. How can so many people and to such an extent be led by the nose? We'll have parliamentary elections in April. What can we do to move from the shadow of oppression to the gift of transmutation on a mass level? In recent years, we have sunk deeper and deeper at country level, as if there was no stopping. What can we do to open the way to a future based on the values of the human soul, regardless of what the political parties are doing?
Such a great question. I think the answer is in the question.
It is, but it would be lovely to have it.
Well, we can contemplate the question.
Yes.
You know, and you have my empathy as well, and because it must be very difficult to witness the level of corruption and fear in you know, the leadership. And it's the same in the UK. It's not the same in the UK, but we also have our wounding, and you know, but the system is different. So we also have our dramas in every country. I think, you know, people who hold to authority in a very rigid way are the weakest people. You know, they're the weakest. And that's why they try so much to be strong. And that's all over the world. We know this. And so everywhere we meet that kind of, that energy, it's the same question, like, how do we deal with it? And it sounds like kind of, it sounds like a weak thing to say this, but the way to deal with that energy is actually through gentleness and patience. Because if you meet it with a warrior spirit, it just becomes more of it retracts more into its stance. And so you have to kind of take the long view and realize that these are energies that are extinguishing themselves. And it may change this time, this election, or it may be the next one, or it may be the next one, or your children's, but eventually it cannot hold up anymore. If you think about how you awakened and you are awakening now, if you think about the mystery of what was it that made you awaken, what was it? You know, what occurred? Some mystery. And the same thing that made you awaken, or is having you awaken now, is inside every human being. And it's going off, it's spreading. So it's inside every single one. And some of them, they're not ready yet. So they'll live, they'll die, they'll return. But then when they return, there'll be more awakening ones everywhere. And each time there'll be more. Each generation, there'll be more. And so the more there are, the more it spreads into different places, like a virus, like a happy virus, you know, or a positive virus, a transformational virus. And so what we see today is very different from what we'll see in 100 years or 50 years even. But I understand it's difficult because we want justice and we want values of integrity, and we should still, you know, I think for each person, you have to answer the question inside your own heart. How will I stand up to this? You know, will I, you know, because some of us are called to be activists, you know, and that's a noble path. And so, and it has its risks, but the risks are part of the noble path, you know, the warrior path. And others are called to help in lots of different ways. By, you know, one of the things it's harder to do is change the big things. The thing we can do is change the small things. And the more of the small things we change, the big things take care of themselves. It's an old proverb. Every country has a proverb about that. I'm sure in Hungary you have them. Do you have one like that?
I don't know if it's
every country, but it's like a common wisdom. And so I think it's a good answer. Like, take care of what's right in front of you. That's the message of the Venus sequence, for example. Take care in your relationships, and then you're clearing pathways of light between hearts and in generations, and you're clearing energy for future generations. So what's the government that's currently there now is because of how it was in the past. But the next one and the next one is the one that we're setting up now. So how we may not be able to change this one, but we can certainly change the next one or the next one or the next one. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to think in this longer term view. And that isn't to say that we don't stand outside and, shout or do whatever our soul requires of us. But I think that, if you know the great change is coming, there's a part of you that can not worry as much. That doesn't mean that we don't act, but it just means that when we do act, if we choose to act, we act from a place of trust rather than a place of concern or worry. Quite simple.
Reaction, yes, as reaction. We just named the 49. Yes.
Yeah. Does that help?
Well, we'll ask the person who asked, but I think it does help. Absolutely. Yes.
Such a good question.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Yes. A similar question. How can we awakening and awakened heart-centered people help those around us to turn inward? Do you think contemplative practices like the contemplation of the dragonfly, the vision of the dragonfly, or teaching people heart coherence technique can help raising their frequency? So how do we help others? Yes.
Yeah, I think, in times of change, we build community, we build bridges. We don't build like silos, we build bridges and we open, so that's the most important thing during times of change. And if things one day become very chaotic and very difficult, which is likely, then that is the most important thing, is that we have built trust and community together. And if we've built that, then we have a basis for dealing with anything, even if it's terrible. So that's the fundamental practice, is to build strong community coherence together and to work together. And as for practices, anything, that it's like in the Pearl, when you get to if you're, I'm doing the Pearl retreat at the moment. In the Pearl, when you get to the brand at the top, it's about what, if I'm a lighthouse and I'm flashing a light out to many people, what color light shall I use? What kind of quality? What is the technique that fits my brand the best for me? So it might be contemplation, might be meditation, might be gardening, might be just about anything. It can be any business. It can be anything where you can pass on the transmission of light. because all you're doing is passing on the transmission of light. If you can do that in a secret way even, and actually that's quite important sometimes, to move unseen and to bring awakening where people, you know, don't realize you're bringing awakening, but you're still bringing awakening, or you're bringing love. And some of us, it's more obvious, you know, we bring awakening. I am here to bring you awakening, or I am here to bring you love, or to help with your relationships, or to help you prosper, or to help your health. There are so many ways to help the people around us. You know, that's why I think the activation sequence is very useful, to help you realize, what is my genius? What am I really here to offer the whole, you know, and the pearl, and the Venus together. They do supply most of the answers, but you have to go through the programs and the process and the journey, and then the answers for you come, and they come as a collective. It's what we're doing at the moment, more and more in Gene Keys community. Like, how can we be of service to the whole? Yeah. So I think contemplative practices are great. And if, you know, if you're dealing with people who are resistant, then you need a very clever brand. You know, you need a concealed brand that, you know, you change it so it fits their safety, so they feel safe. And then through that safety, you build the trust. And as you build trust, you can then release deeper magic and mystery techniques.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is a short one. Can we feel if our DNA is changing?
I think so. I think, you know, in my little book on contemplation, that's in Hungarian, isn't it?
It is, yes, it is available.
When you have insight and you experience insight, it's something it's an opening of your mind, and then breakthrough is the emotional open. You feel it in your heart, you feel more love, and the deepest is epiphany, when your DNA starts to change and transmute, and you feel it through your whole body. And through epiphany, sometimes it's you sweat, you cry, you laugh, you feel a kundalini or something in your body, or it's just a huge kind of change in your chemistry in some form, or you break a pattern, or you have a huge pivot, you know, that pivot, and then it results in this epiphany that reaches many areas of your life and changes you permanently. So yes, we experience it. It sometimes takes a long time to feel it, you know, and an insight you may recognize. A big pivot, a breakthrough is rarer, might not happen so often, and an epiphany is even rarer. But when it happens, when it really changes. So a good thing to do is share your epiphanies and share your breakthroughs with each other, and share your insights, like, and start to see, you know, how they feel, and, you know, and build a kind of an energy in the community that is based on those things. Like, so you create space that those things can occur in the pauses. Those things can occur, like your contemplation practice you're talking about. You know, where you leave a space, and then things can suddenly break through in that space.
Yes, and yes, thank you. Yes, and we have a question around this, because this is the new initiative that we are starting, and we are just experimenting with it actually. And the question refers to that. What do you think about this new initiative to create a weekly live contemplative space? And the idea is to dedicate each week 30 minutes online to the current Jinki. And we have one person who is preparing a summary of this Jinki and reads it. And we spend 20 minutes after that together in silent contemplation. So it's an online program we are now experimenting with, and it feels lovely. And we just wanted to ask what you think about this, how useful you feel these kind of
it sounds
experiments
wonderful.
are.
Sounds wonderful. I think it would be good to capture a way to share the insights from the silence. Whether even if you do it the next day, or so that you can harvest what happens in the silence together. I think that would be a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to, not everyone has to speak, because usually someone speaks for the whole.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Sounds really nice.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so thank you. We'll play with it. Yes. That is a quite interesting question. Have you met the beings transmitting the Jinkis ever since your original encounter with them? Did they introduce themselves? Do you know who they are? So it's a mystical person who asked this. And
yeah,
I don't know if you want or if you can answer this question.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I experience it as they. They is just a small pronoun. I could also use I or we or any of them. They gives a certain feeling of something different from us. But I understand the question, because there are hierarchies of higher beings that are part of us, and living inside us as part of our greater body. So I experience circles, circles of higher frequency, and but I don't give it a name. There's no name. There was a nice thing I shared, because you'll know from Kati, in the ambassadors, we have a invocation that took calls on the 24 elders, and I shared this. I think you were there. That's an old Christian circle, 24 elders, and in the mysteries it is said that humanity will become the 25th elder. When we've attained our highest evolution, then we will have a seat at that higher table, which I like 25, because
yes, universal love.
We are the universal love, and so I like that notion that we are part of an ascending evolution, and yeah, that's how I experience the transmission through the whole of humanity, and all the great teachers and masters, and the great sages and beings of light. Yeah, they're all. This is part of one of their teachings.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. There is one more. Do we need initiation and a master-disciple relationship in our life, in our era, to realize our true self and express our siddhis? Or can we just listen to our inner guru and become our own guru from within? Ask this person.
Yeah. Well, this is the great transition from, adolescence to adulthood in spiritual terms. And so we're on the edge of that. So sometimes some of us need the teacher externalized. Others are ready to let go of that. And some of us are using both. We have an external teacher or a master, but then we are using that as a way to find the inner master. So it's up to each of us. And you can also you can have a strong presence of a teacher inside yourself, and it could be even a teacher who's passed away even thousands of years ago, or a teacher that you have found inside yourself. And those can be very powerful if we keep connecting with them. It's about repetition, to keep connecting and building the bridge with that teacher. So no, we don't necessarily need it, but sometimes it's very helpful and very human to externalize a spiritual parent, a father or a mother, or both a father and a mother, and then project purity into them and love, and then bring that closer towards ourselves, inside ourselves, so that we become that. An old kind of yoga, a very ancient kind of yoga, to imagine oneself as the teacher. So it can be very helpful. I find it helpful. I have resonances with different teachers, both male and female, and sometimes they just come in my contemplation, and I have a moment of bliss thinking of them, and then sometimes it's just me.
Yeah. So actually, I've asked all the questions that people have sent in. So I don't know if we have some more time. If you have anything to tell us that you want to say specifically to this audience, or if there are other questions from people, then and you can take them. So
would someone's just put a question there? I see.
Is it in English? Do you see?
Yeah, it's in English.
I don't know what you are referring to.
I think it's around, it's from Novak Tamas.
Okay.
It's about the 64 qualities, and I think it's asking, are they changing? Are they, do they always remain the same? They're very fluid for me. And I think this is what is quite magical about the Gene Keys, is it has a lot connected to poetry. And so poetry is very fluid and mysterious, and these words are also fluid and mysterious. You can interpret them in different ways. It's interesting when they come into other languages, especially complex languages like Hungarian, because you have to find words, and sometimes there's not the exact, you can't find the exact word. You have to find the frequency word in some way. And and then even that word may lead to lots of different things. So that fluidity and that poetry, the most important thing is that there is the poetry, and that the word feels like it has some poetry to it, and it has hidden dimensions in it. And maybe it's a word that sometimes the words are better that people don't understand so easily, and like synarchy. It's like, what? No one knows what that means.
Joking with us, yes.
But that's the beauty of the word. And sometimes there are other words that everyone knows what they mean, and you have to kind of reinterpret them in a new way. So it's made of words, the language, but it's very fluid and poetic. Yeah, but the Hungarians should understand that well, because you have a long tradition of, as you know, of amazing poets and writers, and you know.
Absolutely, and the Hungarian language is really very refined. Yes,
it must be very rich.
It is,
and it must contain many mysterious secrets and passageways.
It does. Yes, absolutely. There is Magda who wants to ask something.
Hi, Magda.
Just to add just one sentence, that our language is a sacred language. So for us, it's something very special. Just one instance, being healthy means to be full, right? And whole, the wholeness, right? And being in a fearful position, that means to be health. So that says it all.
Yeah.
So my question would be, if you could elaborate just very shortly on the star pearl. Is that really something that could help us expressing and embodying, right, a new human? Is that something just because it incorporates Mercury, Saturn, and Uranus, right? I don't know if it's the unconscious or conscious. All of them that are conscious.
Yeah, they're unconscious, but except for the Mercury.
Mercury is conscious, the other ones, right? So could you just put it in a nutshell, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very useful teaching for creating coherence. You know, one of the most challenging things is working as a group or a team and maintaining coherence. And because everything is shifting emotionally and mentally and physically all the time, whether you are a family or a business or, you know, some, you know, retreat center or a spiritual community, everything is changing. So it's a good way of, we haven't really experimented with it fully yet, but it's a good way of finding individually which piece of the fractal you need to build stronger to create, you know. So if, for example, you use that model in a business, then as an individual, you have to ask yourself, where do I experience the weakest place in the business? Which one of those spheres? You know, not the middle one, because that's the one that harmonizes. And then you have to work on that area in your own life to make it stronger, because it's the place you experience as the weakest. So it's your responsibility to attend to that. And someone else in the business may experience it somewhere in another center, in another area, and they're working to bring coherence there. So that's how you can use that tool to kind of create more harmony. But it's still untested. We are beginning to use it in Gene Keys in our business, but we need more time because it's, you know, it just takes time.
Are we so far that we are we have an access to it, or we could really use it? Do you think that not as humanity, but an individual level? That yeah.
I think it's again, it's an old imprint, the Merkaba of 6 and 1 in the middle, and you know, all these connections, and it seems to be part of our collective intelligence that is structured in that way. So it's a great tool to innovate something, you know, for the future, for governments, for organizations, for groups. You know, it could be a good way of seeing where there isn't coherence and where there isn't harmony, and then addressing those difficulties. But also as an individual, you can use it in your life to see, to create coherence as an individual. So it has a lot of applications. I hope we will kind of relaunch it. It's going to be probably next year, because at the end of this year we will be developing it and getting it ready. But it might be the end of this year in English anyway.
And one more question: is there a super star on the way with Pluto and Neptune?
Not that I know of, but they obviously have some story that hasn't come yet, and I'm sure it will come. I hope it will come. Yes, I think it's another story to come.
Thank you, Richard. Maybe someone else? Another question?
I have a question. So when you start thinking of working as a guide, and in the past couple of years you heard about the transmission, you are enthusiastic, and you would like to share everything. So how can you restrain yourself? Because you mentioned, Richard, in the guide program that you should be really slow, someone who is very patient, just to give some hints, asking questions. But when I'm with someone, I'm overwhelmed with all the things, and it's very difficult for me not to share, but to restrain myself. If I see my profile, it's full of energy and sharing and helping. So what advice would you give to me? Please.
Thank you, Gabby. I understand. I think like listening to the person is so important, to find out what their big issue in life is. What is the biggest issue they have now? And if you find that out, then the whole session can be pointing in the direction of the thing that they really are worried about. And then whatever they remember will be the most important thing. But it is good to, you know, to realize that it can be overwhelming for others. And so sometimes saying fewer things very clearly can be more beneficial than saying many things and then they don't remember. So even if at the end, and the beginning, at the end, you summarize very clearly for them, this is the thing. If you don't remember anything, or if you know, this is the most important thing for you to know right now. And that's what would be very helpful for them. So it's very useful if you know at the beginning what is it that they really need. You know, where is their biggest worry in life, and then at the end you can give them the quintessence that is like a key that fits that lock. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
And maybe give them the book on contemplation. because it's very easy.
Mm.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. I know you had a busy day and a
Oh,
long
it's
day.
good. I'm really happy to see you all. I'm delighted. I'm very honored. You can ask me some more questions if you like.
Do you have any more questions?
I know you do.
Are you still traveling, Richard? Sometime around the world?
I haven't yet. I'm maybe going to America this year for the first time I haven't left the country in 2 years, but I'm going to America to meet Elijah, to create some some new materials for kind of relationships. And and then I haven't started traveling again, but I would really love to come to Hungary for a bit longer next time.
It would be lovely.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you were so gracious when I came.
It was such a pleasure. It was really a very good adventure.
Yeah.
To welcome you. Yes, it was lovely. It was not long, but it was lovely.
I would like to go out into nature this time.
Yes, to the countryside. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Are you planning on coming to Germany? Because I live in Germany.
Magda, is that you? Did you say?
Yeah.
I come wherever I'm called.
Good generator. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I hope I will have a phase of traveling again. Yeah, where I can travel a lot more.
Mm. Do you have any message for us? Do you have any advice for us? Any what can you any encouragement?
I just think you are a wonderful group, and I feel honored that you are doing this work together. And I think the most powerful thing is this art of contemplation. It's so simple, but it's so powerful and so applicable to anyone. I feel like you could share it with anyone, and they would immediately start to benefit. And even the most resistant person, if you just gave them the idea that they could be more peaceful in their life, if they just did these small things like pausing, and then I think it could generate a really good a fire, that spreads fast. That's my feeling. Because Gene Keys, there's a lot of mystical stuff. The profile is very powerful, but it's for people who are quite committed. I think the art of contemplation is more of a mass product, and I would love to see it, more widely shared. Because people are interested in meditation and mindfulness, but this is easier. And it's just much easier, and a bit more fun, a bit more creative. But it has the same effect as it includes meditation and mindfulness. So I would love to see you experimenting with sharing it, and anything you learn, I would love to have feedback as well. I think it would be very useful in business for people. I think it would be very useful in schools. I think it just everywhere.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
less pompous, it's less spectacular, but yes, I absolutely agree. It's very, very profound, and it's very useful. Yes.
And to have people sharing, for example, like what was last week did you have a breakthrough? Did you have some small insight that came to you doing this practice? That's a really powerful thing to share. You can have groups where people come and share their breakthroughs, or they're not breakthroughs. You know, sometimes your breakthrough is nothing happened. And that's also very important. You know, sometimes that can lead to a breakthrough. So yeah, patience is good.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Oh, so nice to see you.
Thank you.
See you
Yeah.
all, and
Thank you so much.
sending my love
Yeah.
to you all.
Thank you so much, Richard. And then if there will be another opportunity, I'm sure.
I would love to.
Yes.
And gather your questions, and
Yes.
if I can
We
be of
will.
service to you, please let me know.
Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I know you'll stay in touch.
Yes, we'll be in touch. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you very much, Richard.
Yeah.
It was really a pleasure. It was.
And
Yes.
you can bet I'm coming.
Okay. We'll be here.
Just don't know when.
We'll be here waiting for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Blessings to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Viszlát.
Much love. Yeah.
you. Bye-bye.
Linger for a
Sziasztok.
little bit.
Yes.
Do you linger in your
We
community?
can.
Yeah. It's a good practice.
Yeah. Nagyon szeretik, hogyha így az ilyen génkulcsos találkozókon után egy kicsit csak úgy időzni, tehát hogy csak úgy bármi előjöhet. So whatever comes can come. Yeah. So if
Yeah.
your day was long, then we can let you go.
That's fine. It's a funny thing, isn't it? You say goodbye and then you stay.
Meandering.
Yes. The goodbye is done with, and then you can relax and just,
Yeah.
you know,
The official thing is done. You know.
Yeah.
Now we can just
Yeah.
stay together.
Yeah.
So does anybody have some unofficial questions? Just
Have you been proceeding with your Bela Hambash experiment or wine tasting
experiment.
wonder? And
It's impossible to find people to translate. It's almost impossible. But yeah, I still love those things. I would like to do something on him, like do a monologue, so that I could introduce him to other countries, you know, other people.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to that.
I still think it's crazy that you're so secretive about him.
and we have poets.
You have other
Jelenkor who is really an amazing poet and practically unknown. Nobody knows him outside Hungary, but yes. Patience.
Want to thank you for your ecstatic series.
Thank you, Katalin.
It's a huge gift, but I'm sure not only for me.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Which one do you like best?
Maybe Walt Whitman, but all of them I'm in.
I love Amanda Maima. Oh, I love this. It's just so palpable. The energy is so palpable.
I like that one too. That's one of my favorites. It's I sometimes think there's just, you know, I often think there's just not enough time. It's like I could have I need lifetimes, because you could just go. So I think we're going to have to all do the ecstatics.
Maybe Hambash Bela could fit in.
Yeah.
To the ecstatics, actually.
Well, I thought I was. Hi, Vera. It's nice to see
Hello.
you. I thought I would do a series called The Initiates. Slightly different energy, that has more of the kind of higher mental plane causal.
International.
Yeah, that kind of genius mental plane that's very beautiful, you know, that would, but also is connected to the mysteries, very connected to the mysteries. So it's like the wisdom mind, the people who tapped into the wisdom mind, as opposed to the heart wisdom only. Yeah, I think that would be a nice series. It was on my agenda, but then it kind of is on the back at the moment.
But the totem animals, the dream arc is coming out soon.
Oh my God, I don't know how you're going to translate that. I think I don't think you actually need to, but
yeah,
it's fun. Yeah, I'm passionate about that. It's become incredibly creative and right brain, very refreshing, actually, to be a child again. You know? It's so, we need that. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of work going into that project, and yeah, I think you could, you know, it's a lot of videos and a lot of things that they just could be translated on the auto prompt. But unfortunately, I've written another book, Cathy, on it. I'm sorry to say.
Which one?
Well, I've basically translated the gene keys into animals. So you have 192 animals,
Wow.
but written in a different way.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit like having the shadow, the gift, and the city in birds and animals and reptiles and.
It'd be lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I was very excited to hear that you have now 2 human design books that were published, and they are not to be translated for the time being. Or do you know anything about that?
I don't know. You can translate them. There's nothing to stop you. They're old. They're kind of old books for me. So their language is not where I am, but it's but they're good human design books. You know, human design is a kind of strange world, and there aren't so many really good books. So
yeah, and there is nothing available in Hungarian. So
I was
no, nothing.
Oh, well, you should translate them, or someone.
Yeah, we could, but it's not somehow the copyright is not. So we were told that it's not possible for the time being.
Really?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
It has come through Jinkies Publishing, because Jinkies Publishing doesn't own the rights for this book.
Yeah, we do.
These books.
We
do.
do.
You do.
Yeah. No. So you have my full permission to translate them.
Okay. So we'll.
Yeah. Just write to Anton, copy me in, and you know we can just get you started.
Okay. I'll be in touch. Okay.
Yeah. It should be simple.
Mm-hmm.
We have in April a lovely guy, Brian, is coming, and he's going to take over the books and publishing, and so you know, he's going to take that weight off Anton's shoulders.
Wow! Oh wow!
Anton is really excited about.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yes.
And he's a lovely man who I work closely with. He's Danish.
Okay.
And so you'll probably be hearing from him. But there's nothing to stop you doing those books at all. Okay,
we'll see then. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're nice, actually. I had them here, but there was they look really nice. I'll show you. Yeah.
Gabi, neked már megvan?
Hát nekem ez megvan 3 éve. Richard, I have this one with me.
Oh yeah, you have that one.
Years. That's
the one. Yeah, so I have it's the same one, the circuitry one, and then this is the manual I wrote a long time ago, which is also, it's good. It's got lots of, you know, I don't know, it's got loads of information. everything you need to know about human design.
Mm.
Those two, yeah.
Yeah, those two.
That's a whole human
Lovely.
design. Yeah.
Okay.
But my energy around it has changed, and my intention is to do a new version of human design. But I don't know when I'm going to do it. Maybe next year.
Okay.
Where I changed all the words and the names
Okay.
into more mystic kind of mythical names.
Okay. Mythical.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So it's a little bit more fun and relatable, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know Karen Curry's quantum human design?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Is that good?
I think it is quite good. Yes.
She's pretty sensible. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's more updated somehow. It's more spiritual and more speaking more to now.
Yeah. No, I have something to finish in that area. So I look forward to doing that. I'm not sure when. I might. My plan is to have a bit of a sabbatical next year, but I'm not sure whether. Yeah, I might come to Hungary.
Come here on vacation and then
Yes.
to have some rest and
Drink some of your delicious wines.
Yeah. Cornel, do you want to ask something?
Yes, I just want to add to this. Whenever you come to Hungary, Richard, then there are some people here who know the country very good, so we can take you for some mystical and sacral journeys.
Beautiful.
Around the country, and of course some wine tasting around the lake.
Of course.
You're more than welcome.
That sounds amazing. So in Hungary, how much in terms of like people who are waking up like this, is it a big movement?
I heard.
Yes, actually there is. I mean, and there's lots of interest in this. So also from abroad, so we have quite a lot of tourists. Tourism is changing this COVID time, and because of the lockdowns very much. So it's gonna come more like very much different way. So the people are open, more and more open for this.
And the younger people, I'm imagining the same, more younger people interested in spirituality.
Also, yes.
So,
look around us.
Most of the
Are we
time,
younger or not? Look around the heads.
in my experience, it's all ages. All ages are awakening. Many young people, middle age, and older people are. So it's everywhere.
Amazing.
Those whom I'm in contact with.
Yeah. That's exciting.
I don't know where I heard this number that around 30 something % of the people are awakened. I don't know where I take it from.
That was Jacqueline, Kati.
It was Jacqueline. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, some of us are listening to Oracle Girl, Jacqueline Hobbs. Do you know, have you, she's English actually, but she's, yes. And she named this number that around, but it's globally, I think, globally. I don't know what the number would be in Hungary.
I have a question. Do you know Shunyamurti, the mystic teacher?
No, I don't think so.
He just brought out his interpretation of the Tao of the final days. Very interesting.
Oh.
You might want to look into that.
Yeah, sounds good.
And he lives in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Very interesting. He's also a poet and very interesting person.
Ah, that's funny. I'm writing a book at the moment. I think you knew this, Kati, of all the lines of the I Ching. So it's kind of my I Ching, and it reads a bit like the final days, but it's actually more about it's more a book that's coming from the future. So it you know, the lines are dealt with as at the highest frequency. So yeah, it's a big work.
Big advance. Yeah.
It's going to be several years. And
His
Anyway.
interpretation is just songs of it, and then he's relating to the now, and then he's trying to give the people a sort of a pathway just to follow. So probably it has something more of with the shadow frequency to do than any other.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I
Yeah.
just
Sounds amazing. I'll check it out. Well, guys, it's lovely to see you. I must go.
Richard, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and for your friendship and for your love.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you, Kathy.
we hope to see you soon.
Yes, me too.
Some way or other,
Yeah.
online or in live.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Bye.
Much love. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.